Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day, thanks to viewers like you and our sponsors. And one of our most recent sponsors is Sid Bolton, who runs the PC Museum in Ontario. You rock, Sid. You've been supporting EP for so long, and this rundown is all yours. Xbox gamers will finally be able to jump into the Battle Royale mayhem of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. The highly anticipated Xbox One version of the game will begin rolling out on the Xbox Game Preview program on December 12th. This will be the same basic version that's currently available on the PC via Steam Early Access, and as such, it's still technically a work in progress, with the final, finished version slated to follow in the coming months. The fact that Battlegrounds is still a work in progress hasn't slowed down its success. As we've reported many times, it's easily one of the biggest gaming phenomenons in years, becoming the most played game in Steam history. It's already sold 18 million copies, up from 10 million just 2 months ago, and expect those numbers to shoot up even more when the Xbox One version arrives. As for other platforms, the developers have inked a deal with Microsoft to make it a console-timed exclusive on the Xbox One, but they haven't said exactly how long that timed exclusivity will last. If we had to guess, we'd say the game will probably hit the PS4 sometime next year. It looks like there's plenty of room for 2 portable platforms from Nintendo. The gaming giant has revealed that sales for the 3DS and 2DS have been holding steady even after the release of the console handheld hybrid, the Nintendo Switch. They've even released a graph to prove their point, and as you can see, the release of the Switch didn't make much of an impact on 3DS sales. This indicates that there's plenty of room in the market for 2 portable platforms simultaneously, although the fact that the 3DS and Switch have totally different form factors, display configurations, and game libraries is probably the main reason why players are interested in both. Sales of the 3DS didn't just hold steady, they actually spiked up dramatically in the summer. This coincides with the release of the new Metroid game, Samus Returns, as well as its special edition version of the 3DS itself, which is why Nintendo moved so many units around that time. As for what the future holds for the 3DS, Nintendo has stated that they're planning to support the system with new games until the end of next year, although they haven't said what they'll be doing after that. Even Superman himself thinks there's been some problems with the DC movie universe. Superman actor Henry Cavill, who starred in Man of Steel and last year's Batman vs. Superman, admits that they've had problems getting their shared cinematic universe off of the ground. In a recent interview with the Rake magazine, he says that the biggest problem with the films was finding the right style. They were attempting to look at the superhero genre from a different perspective, but it didn't necessarily work. Bury it. Cavill points out that although the films have made a lot of money, he thinks they would have had more success if they had offered a more traditional superhero tone. This is pretty much in line with what everyone else has been saying about the DC movies. They were way too dark and serious at the start, but appear to have found the right balance with the recent Wonder Woman movie. Henry Cavill's comments indicate that the latest film, Justice League, will have a similar tone to Wonder Woman, something that's already been hinted at in the more recent trailers. We'll get to find out for sure when Justice League hits theaters in 2 weeks. And it looks like Marvel is having trouble of its own trying to be less serious. Marvel's live-action comedy TV series, New Warriors, has hit a major stumble. It's been dropped by its network Freeform, formerly known as ABC Family, which means that Marvel and Disney will have to find another channel for the show. Deadline reports that Freeform, which is actually owned by Disney, couldn't take the show because their 2018 calendar is already too full. One of the reasons why they're full is because they're going to debut another new Marvel adaptation, Cloak and Dagger. So I guess having 2 new Marvel shows launch on the same network in the same year would be too much. It remains to be seen what other Disney-owned networks might get New Warriors instead. The show, based on the comic series of the same name, will focus on a team of teenage superheroes led by the fan-favorite Squirrel Girl, and it's expected to have a much more comedic tone than the other Marvel shows and movies. It was slated to arrive next year, but we'll let you know if that changes. EA is altering the deal when it comes to loot boxes in Star Wars Battlefront 2. The publisher has offered new details about the changes they're making to the game's controversial loot box system, which received loads of criticism during the recent beta test.
Hey, what are you trying to push on us?
In a post on the game's official blog, EA lists several changes that are based around making players actually play the game in order to get the best stuff. For starters, you'll no longer be able to earn epic star cards, the most valuable kind, from loot boxes. They can only be earned in-game. As for the other star star cards that you can earn from loot boxes, you won't be able to use them to craft higher-end items until you reach a certain level within the game as well. Finally, new weapons will be locked behind specific milestones within the game, so you won't be able to earn them from loot boxes until after you've completed certain game objectives. The developers hope that all these changes will help address all the pay-to-win criticism they received and help make the game fair and balanced whether you spend money on loot boxes or not.
I'm in it for the money.
Hopefully for them, it's not too little too late.
If money is all that you love, then that's what you'll receive.
Finding the right way to implement loot box mechanics and microtransactions in general is something that developers have been struggling with for several years, and don't be surprised if more tweaks are made to Battlefront 2 after it arrives. The game lands November 17th. That's not the only shakeup happening in the Star Wars gaming universe. EA has shed new light on why they pulled the plug on another new Star Wars game. The Untitled project was in the works of Dead Space developer Visceral Games and was being overseen by Uncharted 1 and 2 director Amy Hennig, but earlier this month, EA decided to shut down Visceral and move the project over to another studio, EA Canada. They said at the time that they were retooling the project, changing it from a single-player narrative experience like Uncharted to something more broad and open-ended, similar to the Destiny games. Now, speaking with investors, EA CEO Andrew Wilson has offered new details on why they've altered course. He claims that the decision to make the game a more open-ended experience wasn't a financial choice. It was something they decided to do after testing the game with players and listening to their feedback. They want an experience that keeps bringing them back and can be enjoyed over a long period of time, and Wilson says the only way to do this was to pivot the design away from a linear narrative. Other big game franchises have been moving in this direction as well, and although the Destiny-style games-as-service model is popular, we can't help but point out that single-player narrative experiences are popular as well. The new game, whatever it's called, doesn't have a release window yet, so don't expect to see it for at least a few years. That's our rundown for today. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow with a brand new episode. There's tons of other content on our channel for you to check out, so please do that. And if you dig it, hit subscribe, that little bell, and if you're so inclined, that sponsorship button.